You can name all 50 states. You can recite the quadratic formula. You might even remember what a mitochondria does. But nobody taught you how to read a pay stub, or what happens when you only pay the minimum on a credit card, or why your coworker who makes the same salary somehow retired at 55 while you're still grinding at 67. And if you've ever wondered why that is, why schools teach you the Pythagorean theorem but not how a mortgage works, you're not paranoid. There are actual reasons. Some of them might make you a little angry. Let's talk about it. First, we need to go back in time, way back, to the late 1800s and early 1900s when the American public school system was really taking shape. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The modern school system wasn't designed to create well-rounded, independent thinkers. It was designed during the Industrial Revolution. And the people funding and building these schools? Factory owners, industrialists, titans of industry who needed one thing above all else: workers. They needed people who could show up on time, follow instructions, sit in rows, raise their hands before speaking, and move when a bell rang. Sound familiar? The system was built to produce employees, not entrepreneurs, not investors, not people who understood how money actually worked, just reliable workers who would trade their time for a paycheck and not ask too many questions about where that paycheck went afterward. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not saying there's some secret society meeting in a basement somewhere, twirling their mustaches and plotting to keep you broke. That's not how this works. But systems, once built, tend to keep doing what they were built to do. And the American education system was built over 100 years ago with a very specific purpose. Teaching kids about compound interest or investment accounts just wasn't part of the blueprint. So that's reason number one. The system is old, and it was designed for a different era with different goals. But here's where it gets more frustrating. Even when people try to add financial literacy to the curriculum, they run into walls. Big ones. Wall number one, there's only so much time in a school day. And every subject is fighting for a piece of it. Math teachers want more math. English teachers want more reading. Science teachers need lab time. History teachers have centuries of material to cover. When someone suggests adding a personal finance class, the immediate question is, what do we cut? And nobody wants their subject on the chopping block. Wall number two, standardized testing. Schools are judged, and often funded, based on test scores. And guess what's not on the SAT? How to budget for groceries. What's not on state assessments? The difference between a traditional and Roth retirement account. So even if a principal believes financial literacy matters, they're under enormous pressure to focus on the subjects that determine their school's rating and funding. It's not evil, it's just incentives pushing in the wrong direction. Wall number three is one that doesn't get talked about enough. Most teachers never learned this stuff either. Think about it. To teach calculus, you need to know calculus. To teach chemistry, you need to understand chemistry. But to teach personal finance, you'd need teachers who understand investing, taxes, insurance, credit, debt management, and retirement planning. Most teachers went to college, got education degrees, and entered a profession that, let's be honest, doesn't pay enough for them to have extensive personal experience with wealth building. That's not a knock on teachers. It's just reality. You can't teach what you don't know, and when the people in charge of educating the next generation were never taught this stuff themselves, the cycle just keeps repeating. Now, there's another layer to this that gets a little uncomfortable. Some people argue that financial literacy shouldn't be taught in schools at all. They say it's the parents' job. Personal finance is personal, the argument goes. It's a family matter. Schools should stick to academics. And honestly, I get the logic. But here's the problem with that argument. It assumes all parents know this stuff. They don't. If your parents grew up paycheck to paycheck, they probably couldn't teach you about investing because they never had money to invest. If your parents had debt problems, they might have passed down habits that made your relationship with money worse, not better. And if your parents immigrated from another country, the American financial system, with its credit scores and 401ks and health savings accounts, might have been just as confusing to them as it is to you. Relying on parents to teach financial literacy just guarantees that kids from wealthy, financially savvy families stay ahead. And everyone else has to figure it out the hard way, usually by making expensive mistakes in their 20s. Speaking of which, let me tell you about the most expensive mistakes I made because nobody taught me this stuff. When I got my first credit card at 18, I thought the credit limit was free money, like a gift from the bank. I learned the hard way that 23% interest means a $500 shopping spree turns into $800 pretty fast if you only make minimum payments. When I got my first real job, I didn't contribute to the retirement account because I figured I'd do that later when I make more money. I didn't understand that the money I didn't invest at 22 would have been worth 5 or 6 times more by retirement than the money I invested at 32. That delay probably cost me tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more. And taxes? I didn't understand how tax brackets worked until I was almost 30. I genuinely thought that getting a raise could somehow leave me with less money because I'd move into a higher bracket. That's not how it works at all, but nobody told me. So I turned down opportunities I shouldn't have. These aren't exotic problems. These are the basic financial situations almost every American adult will face, and we just send 18-year-olds out into the world to figure it out on their own. Now, I promised I'd be honest with you, and honest means admitting that there has been some progress. As of 2024, about half of American states require some form of personal finance education for high school graduation. That's a lot more than it was 10 years ago. The movement is growing. Parents are demanding it. Some lawmakers are pushing for it. But here's the catch. Even in states with requirements, the quality varies wildly. Some schools offer a full semester course taught by a trained instructor. Others check the box by having a gym teacher spend 2 days reading from a workbook about balancing checkbooks. A skill, by the way, that almost nobody actually needs anymore. So progress is happening, but it's slow, it's inconsistent. And if you're an adult right now, it doesn't help you at all. Which brings us to the most important part of this video. What do you actually do about this? First, accept that your financial education is your responsibility now. I know that sounds harsh. It shouldn't be this way. But waiting for the system to fix itself means waiting forever. The good news is you're already doing something about it. You're here, watching this video, trying to learn. Second, start with the basics that have the biggest impact on your life right now. If you have high-interest debt, learn about that first. If your job offers a retirement account with matching contributions, understand what that means, because not taking the match is literally leaving free money on the table. If you're about to buy a house or a car, learn how those loans work before you sign anything. You don't need to become a finance expert overnight. Just learn the next thing that matters for your situation. Third, be patient with yourself. You're not behind because you're dumb. You're behind because the system that was supposed to prepare you for adult life had other priorities. Every financially successful person either got lucky enough to have someone teach them early, or they had to teach themselves later. You're in the second group. That's not a character flaw. It's just a starting point. And fourth, if you have kids in your life, your own kids, nieces, nephews, whatever, don't wait for schools to cover this. Talk to them about money. Be honest about it. Let them see you budgeting, making decisions, even making mistakes. Because the cycle of financial ignorance only breaks when someone decides to break it. I'm not going to pretend that watching YouTube videos will make you wealthy. That's not how this works. But understanding money, really understanding it, gives you options. It gives you power over your own life. And that's something no one should have to figure out alone at 30 years old after a decade of preventable mistakes. That's why this channel exists. We take the stuff that feels complicated and break it down. No judgment, no jargon, just explanations that actually make sense. If that sounds useful to you, subscribe to Like Your 5. There's a lot more to cover, and honestly, I wish someone had made these videos for me 15 years ago.